Hello, everyone, and welcome back for the second section of WordPress 101 here at WordCamp Kent. If you're with us for the first session, I encourage you to go to our website, the WordCamp Kent website, and leave us some feedback on your suggestions for that session. For our second session, this is the second of 3 consecutive pre-recorded presentations for learning the fundamentals of WordPress. Our speaker, Joe Querin, will be available to answer questions from live chat at the end of session 2. So if you have questions, be sure to add those to live chat as the session goes along. Okay, with that, let's get started with session 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to our second session of WP 101. As I mentioned in the previous session, we didn't get to the last part of the slides I wanted to share with you, and I think it's important because we're talking about WordPress support. And so some resources that you can use to help find answers to your questions when you're not going to be at a WordCamp soon, or don't have maybe a circle of friends or WordCamp or WordPress gurus that you can contact to get your questions answered. So the first place I recommend is wordpress.org/support. It's kind of the main support homepage for WordPress, and really recommend it for wordpress.org. If you're on a WordPress.com plan, though, you have separate support through your plan there. But WordPress.org support is great for all of our .org installs. So it's all those installs for other hosts that you're paying hosting with, or that you're providing the hosting yourself for the site. The first resource I kind of go to when I first look for things, especially when I'm looking for code samples, is the codex. It's codex.wordpress.org. The WordPress codex is kind of the original WordPress code source, code site for getting code samples, explanations of how different functions and things work within plugins or themes, or even just in core itself. So if you're wondering how something works, how you can use it to do something you need to do in the theme that you're creating or the plugin that you're creating, or just trying to fix something on your site and want to know how you can change roles or alter roles, then you can look at the codex and get the information. As I said, it's kind of the older resource, and there has been some talk that it's going to fade away. I haven't seen that yet. It's still there, but not everything in the WordPress world is documented there. There's been some efforts being put into another section, which we'll get to here in a minute. The other site I recommend is WordPress.tv. It's where all the sessions from WordCamps get posted when they get recorded, whether they're in person or the online ones like this year. So you can go check out WordPress.tv and search for different topics and find different videos from WordCamps all around the world, and hear different speakers' takes on how to do different things within WordPress. You can also watch the sessions from the WordCamp US, WordCamp Europe. Those are posted up there as well. You can search by speaker, you can search by camp, you can search by topic. So there's a lot of different great resources. And what I really like about WordPress.tv is you can watch them in the comfort of your own office or home. You can rewind, you can fast forward, you can pause, you can follow along with the person as they're writing code if you need to. They also link to the slide decks or people's websites, so you can get the slides or get the code samples that they may post. And so it's a really great resource, and it's even nice to go to after a WordCamp, because you can always catch the other sessions that you might not have been able to attend because you're interested in another one. The other site that I mentioned kind of goes hand in hand with the codex is the developer resources site. And don't let the word developer scare you off. It's written in very plain English. Really try to explain it to everyone, even if you're not a developer, on how to do things within WordPress. So developer.wordpress.org. A lot of things are covered in there, how to create themes, how to create plugins, how to do different functionality within your site. There are code samples that are in there, just like the codex, but there's also a lot more documentation, a lot more explanation that everyone can understand. So I really recommend it, whether you're a developer or even if you don't consider yourself to be a developer. Still check out developer.wordpress.org. You might find the answer to your question there. Now, that's kind of the official WordPress sites. These are the official from the WordPress community. But there's also sites that I've found to be really helpful. And the first one is yourwebsiteengineer.com. It's run by a gentleman here from Ohio, Dustin Hartzler, and he actually has a podcast on there that you can listen to and get tips and tricks on how to do different things within your site. Another podcast that I like to go to, it's a gentleman I met a few years ago at a WordCamp and have kept in touch with, and we've become good friends, is Adam Silver. And he runs kitchensinkwp.com. He has a lot of different podcasts up there. He covers a lot of things in the WordPress world, goes over different reviews of plugins and different theme frameworks and different page builders, all sorts of different things. When I looked at his site the other day, just checking out, see what his content has been lately. I haven't caught up with some of his podcasts recently. I've been so busy. But he has a series he's working on right now of WordPress alternatives, where he's looking at Wix and Weebly and some of the other sites. So even if you're not convinced that WordPress is for you yet, he has some other resources you could look at and see what his thoughts were on those other sites as well. Yeah, also wpbeginner.com, and like the title of the site, the domain has in it beginner. It's definitely for beginners, but even if you're a seasoned veteran of WordPress, you might still find the answer to your question there. The thing I like about WP Beginner is they have a lot of different articles covering a wealth of different things. They also have the site blueprint for their own site, where they show you the plugins, the themes, the ways that they've made WordPress work for them. And it's helpful to be able to look at how a site was built and be able to then apply that to your own site. And you might get some ideas, some help there as well as they have just a wealth of different topics and articles that you can read and learn from. If you have a LinkedIn account or know about LinkedIn Learning, it was formerly lynda.com, it's a series of videos that covers a wealth of different topics. And one channel they have within there is a whole WordPress channel. It covers everything from WordPress, how to install it, to building themes and plugins. And you can actually follow right along with the instructor and build things with them. And they provide you code resources and things. One person to check out within LinkedIn Learning is a gentleman named Morten Rand Hendrickson. He's from Canada, and he has a very unique teaching style, one that I really enjoy. And I watched quite a few of his videos, and I've gotten to meet him in person a couple of times. And he just has a really unique take on teaching you how to use WordPress and do different things. He also covers other topics outside of WordPress, and so you can learn a lot of different things on LinkedIn from Morten. Another person you can look up is Carrie Dills. She was a keynote speaker for WordCamp Kent, I believe, last year. And she has just, again, another really unique teaching style, and I really enjoy her videos, and she covers a lot of different things within the WordPress world as well there. Finally, my last resource I like to recommend is smashingmagazine.com. Smashing Magazine covers a wealth of different topics, a lot of design and kind of like graphic designer, artist type stuff, as well as they cover a wealth of WordPress information and CSS and JavaScript. And so you can check out the different articles they have there. They have code samples that are within those articles, and just another really great resource to learn from. So that covers our WordPress support articles I wanted to talk about. Next, we'll move into themes and plugins. What are they? Where do I get them from? It kind of talked about themes and plugins a little bit yesterday, or in the morning session. But we'll talk about finding themes and plugins. We'll talk about testing and trialing, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end for some Q&A. And if we still have quite a bit of time after we cover plugins and themes, we'll talk about menus and custom fields and post types as well. Otherwise, we'll save those for our third session of the day. So what is a plugin? Well, as I mentioned in the previous session, plugins add additional functionality to your site. So if you want to make your WordPress site into an e-commerce store, you might add an e-commerce plugin like WooCommerce. Or if you want to add a calendar to your site, then you might use a plugin to add a calendar. Or you want to do backups, or you want to do some other functionality in your site that's not already there in your site or from WordPress core, then you need to find a plugin to add that functionality. So what is a theme? Well, as I mentioned, a theme controls the look of your site content, but it can also add functionality. And we'll discuss how in a minute. But a theme that's contains all your styling. It makes your site look beautiful. It gives you some style. It also gives you places to put your content. But it can also add functionality, like a plugin can add functionality. But there's a word of caution with adding functionality within your theme. And it's an ongoing debate within the community, and it's not only within the WordPress community, but I've seen it in some other open source content management systems. Kind of the discussion of how do we build functionality into the site. And so my rule of thumb, and it's not really mine, I've borrowed it from ideas from within the community, but it's the rule of thumb that I use whenever I'm building a site, whether it's for myself or I'm building a site for work. Is this, that if the functions will create content dependencies, then place the functions in a plugin. Now, what do I mean by content dependency? Well, a content dependency would be a custom post type, a custom field. It's something that's going to add to your site the ability to hold content. And after all, what's a website without content? So if your content went away, well, then what's the point of your site? And if the site needs those things to function, then without those, the site will break, or it will not be a website anymore. It'll just be a homepage, or it'll just be maybe even just a slide or image on the homepage. Who knows? If the functions are more suited for theme needs, so things that the theme actually needs for the theme to function, like custom image sizes. Maybe your theme needs a certain image size for hero images, or maybe it needs certain image sizes for a call out that's in the bottom, or for you're doing a tile type effect for your posts, and you need a certain thumbnail size for the hero image and the tile. Or you're changing the excerpt length. Like for those tiles, you only need so many words. You don't need the 30 words that WordPress does by default. You need 15. Or you're going to add some kind of filter or action that affects the content display in some way. There's a filter within WordPress that every time you type in WordPress, it goes in and capitalizes the W and the P. You could create one that you type in your initials and it'll put out your name. It could be any kind of a filter or function within your site, but it's something that your theme needs. That if you're the changer theme, it wouldn't matter if it went away. And then lastly, if I'm in doubt, I create a plugin, or I find a plugin I already have on the site that I've already built, and I see if I can add that additional, if it makes sense to add that additional functionality into that plugin, then I'll go ahead and do that. And like I said, the reason why I will tend to put things in the plugins is because if you switch your theme, let's say you add a bunch of functionality into your site, and 6 months down the road, you decide, I don't like this theme anymore, I want to go with a different look, and you switch the theme, and you forgot about all that additional functionality, or you had all that additional functionality built for you, you're not the one building it, but someone else built it for you, and they built it into your theme because that's where you told them to put it, and you switch your theme, well, then your site breaks. Your site, all of a sudden, your custom post type goes away or whatever. And we'll talk a little bit about custom post types in a bit. So where can I find plugins and themes? Well, the first place is the WordPress.org repository. So if you go to WordPress.org, not only can you download the source code for WordPress, not only can you find support for WordPress, but you can also find plugins and themes on the WordPress.org repository. And why we like to send people to the repository is we know the things that are there are safe, they've been looked at. You can also look for what we call freemium or premium themes that you may pay for, themes from theme shops that create themes for their business, and you buy a license to them, you buy a copy of it, you get support for a year or support for however long their licenses. But places like Themify, Elegant Themes, StudioPress have a lot of different themes that might meet the needs of what you need for your site. You can kind of type in what your site's going to be about and find different themes. So if you're building a podcast site or a recipe site or a blog site or a personal finance site or an accounting site, you might find themes that are geared towards that. Plugins, it depends on what you're looking to do. Plugins, because they add functionality, I can't really point you in one specific place and say this plugin company is great or that plugin company is great, because everyone specializes. So like I mentioned, WooCommerce. WooCommerce was part of WooThemes that actually built an e-commerce plugin. And then WordPress, the parent company of WordPress Automatic, they actually purchased Woo themes and made WooCommerce part of the WordPress family. So it really depends on what you're looking to do. There's different slider plugins, form plugins, even that you can find from a lot of different companies. WP Beginner has a couple of plugins that they have built and offer as premium plugins. They have free versions as well as premium versions you can pay for. And a lot of the plugin companies will have their free version of their theme or their plugin in the WordPress.org repository. You can check it out. You can try it. It's limited in features. And then you can always upgrade and get the pro license or whatever other licensing they have to get additional features and functionality as well as support from the company. But never, ever do you want to search for free WordPress themes and plugins in a search engine. You just, please do not do it. If you feel the need that you need to do this, then you please, if you do type those things into a search engine, find a reputable source. Find a theme company that you've heard good things about, you've seen good things about on other blogs, or heard from other people. But still, make sure you're downloading them from the true source. Don't download them from some other site saying that, hey, we've got StudioPress's theme over here and you can download it from here because it takes too long to download from them. Because they might end up with some kind of malware or something that's going to compromise your site. And then the next thing you know, your site's hacked and you got some kind of ransomware or ransom note being put up on your site that you got to pay so much Bitcoin in order to get it unlocked. If you do download the theme from one of these sites that you think it might be a little bit iffy, might be a bit sketchy, put your theme into a development area first. It's a development area is a kind of a sandbox for you to play in. It's not in production. You're the only one who has access to it. And so if it breaks the site, if it ruins the site, it's not a big deal. It's not a great loss. Most likely you have a backup of your development area, or like I said, it's a development area. So if you just have to delete WordPress and reinstall it and spin up your new development area, you're not really going to lose anything. But if you are doing like ongoing development in there, make sure you have all the code that's in there backed up before you pull in a free theme or free plugin from some sketchy site, just in case you do end up compromising your site and losing the information in there. So some tips on, I get asked often, what's some tips on finding things in the WordPress.org repository? Because if you look inside the plugin repository, there are thousands of plugins and there are also thousands of themes. So which one's going to be the right one for you? Well, again, it depends on what you're looking for. But one of the things that you want to look at when you're looking at a plugin or a theme is see how many active installs the plugin or theme has. See when it was last updated. I think that one's probably the most important, is when was it last updated? If it was updated recently in the last week, the last month, the last year, great. If it hasn't been updated for a few years, well, then you might want to consider finding a different one. Unless this is the one that exactly meets your needs, and when you bring it down in your development area, it doesn't break your site, it's compatible with your version of WordPress, it does everything that you need it to, then by all means go for it. But I have some plugins on some of my sites that haven't been updated for years, and they're still working just fine because what they're solving, the problem they're solving, doesn't really need to be updated. And there's not really a need for the developer to update the plugin. Reason why we say last updated is also shows the developer is still actively involved with the plugin. So if you do encounter a problem and you post in the support forum, more likely you're going to get an answer from that developer. Also check to see if it's compatible with your version of WordPress. Because of things that change within WordPress core, they might be using a hook or a theme, or might be using some kind of code that's within core that just doesn't exist anymore. And so if you activate the plugin, it's going to break your site. I also look at ratings and see how people have rated it. Which also means if you find a plugin that you really like and it's for solving the needs, go give the developer a rating. Not only does it make them feel good, but it also helps other people to know that, hey, I found this and it really worked well for me, and I support it, and I give it 4 stars or 5 stars or however many stars you think it deserves. On the other side, if it doesn't work, it broke your site, don't be nasty, don't be mean. But mention that, it didn't work for me. I was running this WordPress version. And then it also kind of tells people that if something has been updated for a few years and it's not working in the newer versions of WordPress, then maybe I don't want to try it myself. So it just depends. But try to put in a positive rating, even if it's for a low score because of problems you encountered. But don't be mean and nasty to the developer. These people are putting in a lot of time and effort on their own dime to be able to build things to help the community, to help us, to help you. And so we want to be courteous and nice to them as well. And again, the support forums. Are they active in the support forums? Are they answering questions? Are there questions that have been posted on there and have not received an answer or a post for months or years? Then it kind of tells you the developer has gotten busy with other things and isn't supporting the plugin or the theme anymore. So, and this kind of goes for all plugins and themes that you're looking at on WordPress.org. Active installs, last updated, version compatible, ratings. Are the support forums recent? For plugins, again, what is the problem that you're looking to solve? I can't recommend one plugin over another. Each site is unique. Each site is specific. There's a multitude of different e-commerce plugins. There's a multitude of different form plugins. There's a multitude of different security plugins, backup plugins. You name it, there are dozens of them. So what one really suits the needs for your site, suits the needs for you as an individual? Is it one that solves the problem you're looking to solve? Or does it give you the feature that you're looking? What's the feature that you want to add? What plugins have you already installed? Is there a possibility that you have a plugin installed that already offers the functionality that you need? All you have to do is just turn it on with a checkbox or a slider control, or it's another place in the configuration of the plugin. You wouldn't be surprised how many times I've come across things that I need to add to a plugin, and I end up finding I already have a plugin that does it. I just have to enable the feature or use the functionality that's within that plugin. So you look at what you already have installed. You don't want to just keep installing plugin after plugin after plugin. Sites tend to slow down when you have too many plugins. If you have plugin conflicts, you really don't want to be running 3 different backup plugins. You don't want to be running 3 different form plugins. You don't want to be running 3 different SEO plugins. You want to be running one of each thing. And that way you're not having competition within the plugins as well. Other tips for finding plugins: use different search terms. Think about how would you explain this if you're talking to someone, and try to use different keywords, different search terms, see what the search results pull back. Look for tutorials. They might suggest plugins as well. Backup tutorials, form tutorials, user management tutorials. They might have a wealth of different plugins that they suggest, and you can see if those plugins still exist, are still supported, all that stuff that we talked about earlier. Look for plugins from authors you're already using plugins or themes from. A lot of times authors create multiple things. They might not just create a form plugin, they might also create a backup plugin. They might create a user management plugin. They might create some kind of shopping cart abandonment plugin. You never know. So look around and see what they offer. Because if you find the one that you like, then more than likely one of their other plugins you might like as well. And also, their plugins are going to be compatible with each other as well. You're not going to have problems in the WordPress site. And like I said, also review the options in your currently installed plugins. So you might have that functionality already there. Now, I talked a little bit about dev sites and why I really feel that everybody should have a development site. Even if you're not a developer, you don't consider yourself a developer, I still recommend you have something locally that you can play with your site so that you can get used to WordPress before you launch into production, or that when you're trying out new features or new updates to WordPress, or you want to find that plugin or theme that might solve your needs, you can try it in your development site. So depending on your skill level, there's different ones that are out there. If you're on a Windows platform, you can use WAMP. It's Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. It's a download, you install it, and then it runs you through the configuration. It's a little bit more complicated for a beginner, but if you have some experience with development or with code, or you're just a techie guy or techie person that likes playing with stuff, then WAMP might be for you. Another product that I like out there is called Desktop Server. They have a free version, lets you run a couple of sites, and then you can pay for a license and get unlimited sites. And it really gives you the ability to run a full site right there on your local workstation. And now they have some additional plugins for their product that allows you to connect to your remote site and actually publish changes that you do locally up into your production area as well. If you're using Flywheel, or even if you're not using Flywheel, you can use Local by Flywheel as another kind of local environment that you can build sites in. If you have a Flywheel account, you can connect your local area to your production area and actually push changes from local up to production. Really cool. It used to only be available on the Mac. Now it's available on PC as well. If you have a hosting company, check with them, see if maybe a remote development server might be an option. A lot of times you can get a development site as well in addition to your production site and use it just as a test or whatever you want to do. Why I recommend the development site, like I said, you can use it to check out new plugins or themes before installing. You can check, will they provide you the functionality, the features that you need for your site? Are they going to do what you actually need to do? Can what you're trying to solve actually be solved? You can also practice with WP before you're going live. So practice with WordPress before you're going into a live production environment, so you're not making that mistake at 11 o'clock at night and break your site and no one's available to help you. You can actually just break it locally, and then you can figure out how to fix it or get someone to help you fix it and then apply it to production. So we have about 10 minutes left. I'll cycle through to custom fields and post types. I think this one talks a little bit about menus as well. See how much of this we can get through in the 9 minutes that we have, or 10 minutes. So overview, we'll look at custom fields versus custom post types, ways that you can customize WordPress. Maybe we'll be able to talk about what is CSS, and if you need more menus, how you can add those. And then, like I said, hopefully we should have some time at the end for some questions. So a WordPress stores all page and post data as a post type, believe it or not. And in WordPress, there are actually 5 core post types. There's the post, which we're familiar with as the blog entry. There's the page, which is the static content. We mentioned about those 2 in the first session. Now, there's also your attachment. So anything goes in your media library, your documents, your images. If you put video in your site, it's a post type. There's also the revision. It's a version of your post or page. It's the previous version from when you last published the new version. That's actually a post type as well in the revisions. And your menu items. Your menus are actually a post type. So you can actually store menu items in there, which also means that you can query menu items. So if you're looking to do some custom development, do some custom things with menus, there'll be some pretty cool stuff that you can do from a query standpoint on the backside. So let's give you an example scenario. Let's say that you have a food blog and you wanted to use custom post type to display your recipes. So you use this awesome code that we found. We customize it to represent your menu offerings. We created categories for breakfast, lunch, dinner, appetizers, desserts, candies, cakes, cookies, you name it. And you went in and populated your menu with all your fantastic recipes. Everything is great. Life is good. People are coming into your site. They love what you're posting. You're posting new stuff. And you decide that, maybe I need to change. It's 3 months, 6 months, maybe a whole year's gone by. Everything's still good, but I want to change something. I've just found the theme that I wanted a year ago. It's great. It looks just like you want your website to look, and you decide to apply it. So you install it, you activate it, and you think everything is great. You don't even bother to check the front end. And later that day, or maybe the next, someone emails and asks where your recipes are. So you tell them to click on recipes, and they ask where. I'm on your site, and there are no recipes. So you go to your site and you check. No menu. Then in 3, 2, 1, you panic, because now you've just lost your site. And you think, what did I do? What happened? Where did everything go? All that hard work. Well, WordPress allows you to create your own custom post type, like I said. And it allows you to format content in a particular way. Your recipes, your products, your frequently asked questions, etc. But it's where you put that custom post type code that matters. It's this code right here that we see on the screen. Function create post type, add action. You can get it from the codex/post types. Post_types. You can use a plugin that can create a custom post type, or you can use generatewp.com, which you can fill out a form. It'll do some stuff, and it actually help you to create the custom post type code that we looked at. But if you put that post type into your theme and you switch your theme, that's where your site goes and it goes away on you. That's why you want to put it in that plugin like we mentioned. Now, what's a custom field? Well, the codex defines a custom field as metadata that contains a key value pair. Now, I'm going to admit, even for me, that is a bit vague. So let's break down what a custom post type or custom field is. If you keep reading the codex page, you'll see what a key value pair is. A key is the name of the metadata, and the value is the metadata. So as an example, the key is currently reading. The value is Calvin and Hobbes. So it could be, your key could be food, and the value could be banana, chicken, shrimp, whatever. You kind of get the idea of key value field. So what can you do with custom fields? You can actually do quite a lot with custom fields. Announcement features on your website. You could create a custom post type to handle the announcement content, title, description, photo. But then how about an announcement start date? Well, you could use the post date, but what if I want to future date things? I could create a custom field. So I can create a start date, and I can use the start date to build in the scheduling of the post, but I could also create a custom field for the display end date. So now when the display end date passes, my announcement goes away. I could also create an importance value. So maybe I want to make it red, or I want to make it blue, or I want to make it green, or I want to make it orange. I want to add some kind of importance. I want to change the icon that's with the announcement. I can do all that with the custom field, the importance custom field. So I can use some PHP logic, and we can display the content. We can make the post automatically display based upon when the server's date, as well as when to stop it, and how to make it look. They're really pretty cool. We can even use the CSS class or ID of the containing element to make the announcement appear different, all based upon that similar PHP logic for the importance, like I mentioned. So what if you want to customize WP? We want to customize WordPress. Well, as we saw yesterday, there's the WordPress customizer. You can change the header image, the site title, the tagline. You can change the colors. There's also this thing called additional CSS. And I really like the customizer and the fact that you can use that. If you're not using the customizer, in the Jetpack plugin, there's also the additional CSS option, or at least it was there the last time I looked. I'm not sure if it's still there, but I actually like the WordPress customizer CSS better, even if you are using Jetpack, because it's right there. It makes it really easy to get to. You can also use page builders, so like Gutenberg or the block page builder that WordPress ships with now. There's also Beaver Builder, there's also Bold Grid, there's Divi, there's lots of different page builders that you can use. These all are plugins, except for Gutenberg. It's now baked in the core. It's available in WordPress core. But if you're not running version 5 or greater of WordPress, you're still running version 4, and there's a good reason why you need to be running version 4, which really probably isn't a good reason, but you should be running the newer version. But I'm even guilty of running an older version at times. You could actually put Gutenberg into your 4.0 site, your 4.9 site, your 4.8 site. It's available there. There's also custom field plugins that you can use to create custom fields. So as we mentioned, you might need to add additional menus. And I got about 2.5 minutes, so we'll see if we can cover additional menus. So adding new menus, there's a couple of different things that need to happen to add new menus. First, you have to go to the WP dashboard, or one of the things, depending on which order you want to go through. Go to the WP dashboard, create a new menu. But you also have to make a theme modification, because you have to have a place for your menu to live within your site theme. And so generally, I'll add it to the theme first, but we'll go over to the dashboard first. So under Appearance, then Menu, there's New Menu and Add Menu Items. So like I showed in the first session. In your theme side, you have to go into your theme function file and create a menu definition, which creates the menu position. And then in your relevant theme file, so where you want your theme to appear, or where you want your menu to appear in your theme, either in your header, your footer, in a sidebar, in a custom sidebar, in a page, basically wherever in the theme, you need to drop this theme code or this menu code. And it's add WP nav menu function call. WP nav menu, you see there's an array. Array is just a list of items. We have our key value pairs, essentially. Menu, top navigation, submenu, true. So I want to have sub navigation or not. I can actually turn that on or off depending on how I want it to function. And you can look at the codex to get more information about that as well. So I'll leave it here on this thanks slide. That's my website, joequerin.com. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Querin, GitHub, JoeQ, WordPress, JoeQ. You can find me in a wealth of different places. It looks like I actually ended with 50 seconds left on this video, so I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the previous one as well. I hope you learned lots between the two sessions. Now we should have some time for a live Q&A. I'll still be around in the chat throughout the day as well. You can catch me on Slack as well, direct message me there, or you can send me a direct message on Twitter. And feel free to chat, to ask questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer what's on your mind. So thank you for watching again, and I appreciate everyone. And we'll look forward to our last session, which we'll cover some how to do some development, it sounds like. And we'll maybe also look at the page builder inside of WordPress, the block-based builder for pages and posts. So we'll round out our 35 minutes that way. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to your questions and comments.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with Joe now for live Q&A. We're going to pull some of your questions from the chat. We have about 10 minutes to cover your questions here. So if there are questions you haven't posted yet, keep those coming and we'll make our best effort. Joe, our first question from chat. What should I pay attention to before changing the theme?
So you want to make sure that you've noted any customizer changes that you've made, especially like additional CSS. You might also want to look at all your widgets and what content you had in those, because the widget could change. Actually, when you change a theme, all widgets will get kind of saved, but your widgets will, because you'll have new positions, you'll have new things. Not all the widgets will carry over because the positions aren't there. The other things to keep in mind too are anything that you did specifically to the site that is theme related. Maybe menus that are in different places. You may have different menu locations now. You might have additional menu locations to be able to place additional menus. So it's menus, widgets, and custom CSS really are the three things I would make sure you have a copy of, and then anything else in the customizer you may have done.
Okay, great, thanks. Next, a question about plugins. Susana says, I use premium plan. Whenever I want to use a plugin, I see a warning, something like this: upgrade to business plan to install plugins. Are there any plugins that I can use for free with my premium plan? Joe, what's up there?
That's a WordPress.com question. And WordPress.com has the different pricing levels. So at premium, you're not able to use just any plugin. You have to only use the plugins that are available within your WordPress.com dashboard. If you upgrade to the business plan, that allows you to bring in any other additional plugins, whether it's free, ones you've created, or ones that you've purchased that are not in the WordPress.com ecosystem to begin with. So it really depends on can you afford to upgrade to that business plan from the premium plan? Otherwise, you have to look at what's available within the dashboard to see what else you can do. And again, look at plugins you already have enabled. Maybe there's something in one of those plugins that you can enable to give you the features that you're looking for.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Another great question from chat. Do you have any advice for using themes and plugins with a multi-site environment?
Multi-site, yes. And we'll actually cover multi-site in the next session. I use multi-site quite extensively in my full-time work. And you definitely need to look at if the plugin is multi-site compatible. Most plugins will, but some plugins have settings that are on the network side. But for the most part, most plugins will work. And most themes will work with multi-site as well. I really haven't seen anything that's a multi-site specific theme. And everything that we've developed at the college where I work, all our custom stuff works within multi-site. There is a few things on the more development side that you have to pay attention to. But from looking at purchasing a plugin, the biggest thing is licensing, because there are a couple of plugins I've seen where they license by the site. And if within multi-site, you can technically have multiple sites there, And so it's really their definition of site in their licensing that I would pay attention to, and just shoot them a quick email and ask them. I had one developer, I was looking at a plugin and I saw their multi-site language, and I asked them, what exactly do you determine as multi-site? Because I'm operating under one domain, but I have 70 multi-sites inside that domain. And he was fine with me just purchasing one license. So that's the only thing I really watch out for, is the licensing, which with anything is software related, licensing is a bit of a pain.
Yes, WordPress multi-site, so awesome, but also a little different.
Yes, yes, it is a bit of a different animal.
Yes. Okay, another one from chat. Joe, can you clarify, is the customizer a plugin, or is that part of WordPress core?
Customizer is actually part of WordPress core, and it's available right within the appearance side, as well as in the top level menu of the admin toolbar. And it's something that's been in WordPress, I want to say, since version 4 it came into existence. I'd have to look back and see the history and see exactly where it was. It's been in there for so long now that I think it's just been there from the very beginning, it feels like. But it's a very powerful tool, and there's ways actually on the development side that you can extend the customizer and add additional functionality to that if you're interested.
Great, great. Time is flying, but the questions also keep flying from chat, Joe. Someone wants to know where to begin, first steps with WordPress functionality. If you're just starting out, should it be your goal to create a blog post, or maybe something else? What's your advice?
My advice, actually go out and create yourself a WordPress.com blog, because it's free and you can play with all the features that are available there. And it really gives you a chance to kind of play with it, and you can choose whether to publish it out to the web or not, or just use it to work with. If you're a little more on the techie side, then go ahead and spin up a local development site using one of the development resources I mentioned, and play with it locally and see what you can do with it. That's how I started. Was I actually started playing with it locally, seeing what I could do with it, and then I put it into production, actually to supplement a news feed to a mobile app that the college was developing. So that's how I really got started with WordPress, and I saw the real potential and what I could do with it from there. But definitely, you want to play with creating blog posts, play with it both from the user side as well as from the admin side, I guess you could say, from the dashboard side, and explore it and see what you can do with it, and look for tutorials and videos. Check out WordPress.tv, attend more WordCamps like this. WordCamp US is coming up later in the year, and I think that's going to be live streamed. So again, just keep checking out resources and seeing what all you can do with WordPress.
Joe, a follow-up question here just from me. You mentioned 3 local development environments in your presentation. Is there one that you like a little more than the others for beginners who are just getting started?
Probably ServerPress or Local by Flywheel, just because both of those have very easy to use installers, and then their interfaces are very easy to use for a beginning user as well.
Okay, great, Joe. Thank you for that follow-up. One more question from chat here. We're getting close to our time limit, but someone wants to know, you mentioned the events that display in the WordPress admin dashboard. And how do you add those, Joe? How does that happen?
Those actually come from published events on WordCamp.org. So those are a feed that are coming from Central and goes to your local installs or to your installs of WordPress. And it uses your IP address information to determine what's closest to you. So like I'm here in Northeast Ohio, so of course I see Kent. When Columbus was a WordCamp, I saw Columbus. I would see Dayton. I even go see as far as Michigan and Pennsylvania. So it really, they go out as far to try and get as many WordCamps in the area so you're aware of them, as well as the meetups, especially the meetups that are close to you. So the meetups in the Cleveland area, in the Kent area, I see all of those as well. There's nothing you have to do. WordPress actually does that for you.
Right, and that's the beauty of it, is it happens kind of auto-magically, Joe.
Yep.
Don't have to do anything, it's just there.
Yeah.
So
it's part of the great part of this great community as well, which is really another thing that attracted me to WordPress, was the community that we have here. And just getting to know each other, being able to ask a question, and you don't know where the answer is going to come from, but you know it's going to come from someone that has the answer for you.
Yes, and that dashboard is a little bit distracting, but in a good way, and it's always there to tell you what's going on, and it's really hard to not give that a little attention when you're in there working. Okay, we are out of time. Fantastic questions from chat. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. And we encourage you also to leave feedback on this session at the WordCamp Kent website. You can find the feedback selection from the main menu there. Joe and I will be back after the lunch break for one more session of WordPress 101, and we hope you will join us for that.
Keep asking your questions. I'll answer them during lunch.